Hey everybody, Adam the Movie Guy here. Happy to present to you all the Archie comic special I promised to release all the way the fuck back in April. Then moved the date to August, but like everyone can relate to, life just gets in the way of things and I can't seem to keep a promised date to save my life. I actually recorded over 40 minutes of the episode, which, while decent, I decided after so many stop and go recording sessions that were so far apart from one another, I took a breath and I tabled it. And what made me decide to get back to it was two incredible podcasters by the name of Brandon and Josh from the Archie and Me podcast. Excellent podcast to listen to. Everyone should check them out. Great guys. Now, when I decided to get back to doing the Archie episode, I decided I'm going to just throw out everything I recorded and start again fresh and renewed, just so I'm not working with material that's almost half a year ago. So here is the freshly recorded Archie special I promised so long ago, and be warned, like every show I do, it contains strong language, crude sexual humor, my favorite, and an unhinged host, moi. I'm doing a bit here, so don't take me too seriously. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Everything's Archie. Sugar. Oh, honey, you are my candy girl. What's that sound? Archie, Reggie, Veronica, Betty, Juggy too.
Where?
So everything's Archie. Come on, let's go with the Archie Show.
Alright, let us begin. The Archie comic book series, which has spun off into multiple forms of media, such as live-action shows and animated series. I absolutely love this franchise, from the characters, to the stories, to the town of Riverdale. They all hold a special place in my heart. So for this episode, I'm gonna very briefly touch upon the origin story of the comic's creation, including the comic's inspirations. Then for the next segment, I'll talk about each major member of the Archie gang, with their character bios, when they debuted, their personalities, and then I'll give my own personal 2 cents on the character, which will be the funniest fucking part of the show, since this is where I'll go full unhinged movie guy mode. Or, I guess in this case, comic book guy mode. So everybody get ready to hear some ridiculous out-of-pocket shit, and don't take it too serious. Just have fun and go with it. Don't question anything. You're dealing with a fucking maniac here. You clicked on play, so now you have to suffer the consequences. Following the character segment, I'll name my 5 favorite spin-off titles and speak very briefly about them. Archie comics have pretty much explored every genre, from their slice-of-life comedic antics, to romantic drama, to action, to fantasy, to sci-fi, to horror, my favorite genre, to crossovers with many different and downright unexpected properties, which is going to be its own episode someday when I get off my ass and do it. Then I'm going to talk about my love for the animated series Archie's Weird Mysteries for a bit. Then I'll get to the 2 big live-action series adaptations, Riverdale on the CW and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and what my overall thoughts on those shows were. And holy shit, I can't wait to talk about the fucking twisted turns Riverdale takes. Jesus Christ. Oh boy, that's going to be a trip. Anyway, spoiler warnings ahead for that, so you don't get all boo-hoo pissy about it if you haven't seen either show, and I ruined the plot points because I'm warning you all now. Unfortunately, to this day, I still haven't seen the Katie Keene show, another Archie Universe character. I do know Lucy Hale portrayed her in the show, and she's really fucking cute, so I gotta give it a try someday. Well, everybody, hop in your piece of shit jalopy, pick up a harem of beautiful women way the fuck out of your league, and get ready for a nice cruise around the amazing town of Riverdale in the wonderful world of Archie.
Everything's Archie.
Alright, getting into the history of Archie's creation, I want to first say that I'm not delving very deep into the details, since I really just want to get into the real meat and potatoes of the episode, which is the characters in my favorite Archie miniseries they released over the years. And please, if I get something wrong or forget a crucial detail, let me know in the comments, or wherever the fuck, if you want to contact me or if you actually give a shit. I promise I'm not a psychopathic asshole when being corrected. Well, I am every other time. Just not when I'm being corrected. It all started in 1941 with comic book publisher MLJ Comics, known for creating the superhero known as the Shield, who, fun fact, predated Captain America by a whole year. True story, look it up. Archie was created by John Goldwater, the publisher of MLJ, in collaboration with Bob Montana, a fantastic fucking artist, and talented writer Vic Bloom. It was December, and making his glorious debut in Pep Comics number 22 on the comic rack was Archie Chick Andrews, trying to woo his brand new cute blonde neighbor, Betty Cooper, in spite of his pal Jughead trying to convince him otherwise. One thing leads to another, and Archie ends up royally pissing the fuck off Betty's father and grandfather, which showed that even in his debut, Archie was always a lovable, clumsy goofball. Now, Archie was heavily inspired by the Andy Hardy film series starring Mickey Rooney, and I could swear there were other inspirations too, but for the life of me, I cannot recall them. I lost what few brain cells I had doing that fucking Leprechaun film series retrospective.
I need me gold! I come from the land of the Irish Spring. Dublin's the place where I learned my thing. From the Emerald Isle to your place in the hood. On the man of green, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good.
A lot of alcohol was consumed during those recording sessions. Just like now, I'm actually drinking an old-fashioned cocktail, and I could barely string together a coherent thought or sentence as I record this. Then again, I could barely do that when I'm completely sober, so bear with me. If anyone listening knows what other creations possibly inspired Archie, let me know in the comments. MLJ Comics was eventually renamed Archie Comics due to the huge popularity of the title character, which shows that even in his earliest form, Archie was absolutely loved by readers around the world. One thing I want to touch on before delving into the characters is naming some of the most prominent Archie artists over the years. If I miss someone, shout them out in the comments so I can look like a jackass for forgetting them, because Archie has had some legendary artists who deserve a mention. Also, apologies in advance if I mispronounce their names. I always had speech problems when it comes to pronouncing certain words and names and shit like that, so it often sounds like I'm either drunk or fucking brain dead, which, to be fair, let's be honest, both answers aren't entirely wrong a decent amount of time when I'm recording these shows.
I keep telling you, he's brain dead.
Now, to save time, there's been a good amount of Archie comic book artists over the years. I'm just going to name my top 5 with 3 honorable mentions. If I miss a huge name, don't get pissed and start throwing bricks on my fucking head if you see me in public. I get that enough from all the other ridiculous shit I've jokingly said in past episodes, and I just have that face you want to throw bricks at, let's be honest.
Suck brick, kid!
Artist number 1, Bob Montana. Out of pure respect and nostalgia for this OG Archie artist, he was the first to capture Archie, and his art is instantly recognizable. Artist 2, Stan Goldberg. Since his artwork on Archie brings out a lot of childhood memories for me, since when I started reading Archie around 7 years old, it was his issues I started with. Artist 3, Al Hartley, with his amazing comedic posing and visual innuendos from what I recall. Low-key, Al Hartley was a freak. But hey, respect. Artist 2, I'm going to butcher their fucking name, so I know everyone's going to roast me in the comments for this one. Francesco Francavilla. I think I said that right. For his Afterlife with Archie artwork, which is fucking incredible for the darker tone that the series is going for. And there's some truly haunting panels in that fucking series. You guys got to go into it. Now, artist number 1 and my personal favorite Archie artist, who in my opinion is the greatest one of all, no disrespect to the others of course, is Dan DeCarlo. Now, this guy is what all other Archie artists for the mainline series are measured against, to the point that his art became the standard Archie house style look for the mainline Archie comic books. He knew how to draw iconic looking characters, particularly in drawing sexy women. Seriously, look up his artwork and you can't argue that he didn't. I crack open this old art book I have of his, but it's kind of hard when the pages are all stuck together. Woo! Now on to 3 honorable mentions. Honorable mention 1, Dan the motherfucking man Parent. You can't not acknowledge this guy right here. His passion for Archie comic books comes through in everything he does, okay? He created and drew Kevin Keller, the first openly gay Archie character in the series. He also did that art for the Archie vs. Sharknado crossover, which never in my life, I never knew I needed it until I read it. It was fucking glorious. And I'm unashamed as a fan of the Sharknado series. Part 2 is the best, and people who saw those movies can't argue with that. Well, they could, but any other answer is fucking wrong. Fight me. My point is, Dan Parent is such an important person to the Archie franchise, I couldn't picture them without him. Here I am hyping up Dan Parent like that scene in Wolf of Wall Street.
We should thank our fucking lucky stars this man is here. We should be on our hands and knees right now, getting ready to suck this guy off. All right? Like this, okay? I want to suck you off. Everyone's going to suck you off. This is our golden ticket to the fucking chocolate factory right here. And I want to meet Willy fucking Wonka, okay? I want to be with the fucking Oompa Loompas like this. Dude. All right, get off this fucking stage. Get out of here.
I never get tired of that fucking clip. Dan Parent right now is the daddy of Archie comics. Pedro Pascal could never.
But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.
Meanwhile, miles away, Dan Parent, after listening to this shit, is Googling how to get a restraining order. All jokes and fucking around aside, Dan Parent deserves every praise he gets, and I truly do respect and admire the work he does to this day with Archie comic books. Honorable mention to Fernando Ruiz for some kick-ass and some outright sexy pinups he's done over the years. Dan DeCarlo will be proud he's keeping the sexy pinup spirit of the characters alive. With my personal favorite one he did is the Halloween Spectacular variant covers he did about a year or so ago. The Archie ladies plus sexy holiday costumes is just a winning formula, and I've really started to warm up to Ruiz as an artist over time. And honorable mention 3, Miss Holly G for her fantastic art on the early 2000s Sabrina the Teenage Witch run she did. Sabrina looks great in every single panel Holly drew, the colors really pop, and she has done 2 of my favorite Sabrina covers ever. If Dan Parent is the current king of Archie, then Holly is without a fucking doubt in my mind the queen. And she seems like such a lovely and sweet woman. She writes Sabrina extremely well that not only stays true to her 1970s classic era run, but with the addition of traits from the 90s Melissa Joan Hart show, combined with her own take, it's just a perfect blend. Sabrina is my favorite Archie character, and I cannot fucking wait to get to talking about her and why she's my favorite. I just absolutely love witches in general, period.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you.
Whoa, slow down, pal. Keep it in your pants. Take it easy. Not yet.
Everything's Archie.
Alright, now getting into the characters. First off, let me say I'm obviously not doing every fucking character there is in the Archie universe, since that would take way too goddamn long, and I'll turn to a fucking living husk, naming the most obscure ones people don't know or don't give a rat's ass about, let's be honest. No offense. So, for the sake of everyone's and my own sanity, I'm only going to be name and discuss the main Archie gang, Josie and the Pussycats, the MVP, aka my girl Sabrina, everyone's favorite smartass pussy Salem.
Finally! Someone whose life is more pathetic than mine.
And I'll touch on Harvey a bit too. Now, I know people right now are saying, well, what the fuck? What about the parents, side characters, other pets, and the faculty of Riverdale High? Please kindly and respectfully settle the fuck down, because they deserve their own mini episode, which I promise I'll do someday in the future. I don't know when, but eventually. But probably not for this month or next, or let's be honest, probably not the following one either, since I still gotta do my Jaws super special. You know, the one I promised way the fuck back in July. And that's going to take a bit to do because I'm covering both the movie and the novel it's based on. So that's going to be a 2-parter as well. Oh, and be warned, I'm going to spend most of my time sucking the movie off until it looks like one of those re-dead zombies from Legend of Zelda. Alright, now on to the characters. I'm going to start with the fellas first, then get to the ladies. Now, the way that this is going to go is I'm going to do an extremely quick and basic background rundown with each character, where I'll state their name, when they debuted, their personality, and my own personal takes and opinions on the character, aka when I start acting like a fucking maniac with out-of-pocket ridiculous shit. I'm back. This is gonna be fun. Starting off with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Archibald Chick Andrews, making his grand debut in Pep Comics number 22 in 1941. Now, Archie is a kind-hearted, magnetic, loyal, and more often than not, very well-intentioned guy who always seems to land in outrageous fucking bullshit. He's clumsy as all hell for one thing, and God help you if he's in your house with expensive shit lying around, because chances are it will be broken. He's also the most indecisive motherfucker I know when it comes to women. This fucking guy has been going back and forth between Betty and Veronica since the 1940s. Granted, he favored Veronica for the most part until at least the late 60s or early 70s, when it became much more even in the comic books, if I recall correctly. And that's just mentioning Betty and Veronica. Let me remind you all listening that Archie has had many romantic partners over these many years, okay? Let me rattle off some of the names of the women he's dated that wasn't Betty or Veronica. Cheryl Blossom, Valerie Smith, Midge Klump, Josie McCoy, Ginger Lopez, Amisha Mita, Sabrina Spellman.
Don't fucking get me started.
Anyway, I swear he took Ethel Muggs and Midge Klump both on a date once or twice. I can't recall if he dated Nancy Woods or Melody Jones, or was it fucking Valentine, which I think apparently is her new name, which is canon. But all this information is leading me to my next point and very important characteristic of Archie. This guy is a chick magnet, okay? Through sheer lovable charm and sincerity, this fucking guy has pulled a ridiculous amount of women to the point they're drawn to him like moths to a goddamn flame. I guarantee you, Archie has hooked up with damn near every woman in the town of Riverdale. Seriously, save some pussy for the rest of us. God damn. And you know what? Probably Jughead too, since I could definitely see that. Hell, pairing Betty and Veronica is a popular thing among this fan base. Archie Jughead is the most logical equivalent to that. They even referenced that in the live-action CW show when Jughead's mom, after not seeing Jughead or Archie for a few years, when reunited with them, she immediately assumed they were a couple and that they were going to end up together, which was a great funny moment. The best part about that is Archie is just one of the fictional characters that is just so endearing and magnetic that women in the comic book can't help but be pulled in by him. It's also really hilarious that this clumsy, sometimes absent-minded, average Joe kind of motherfucker gets more action than most guys ever can even wrap their heads around, and he doesn't even really realize it, which is also charming in a way. What I love about Archie as a character is that he truly is the heart and soul of Riverdale and is always there for his friends when they need him. One last thing I want to say about Archie, which also concerns Betty and Veronica, is the age-old question, who should Archie be with? Well, my answer may surprise you guys. Now, years ago, when I was a kid first reading these comic books, I was Team Betty all the way. You all know how I feel about blonde women. However, that is no longer the case, and my answer is this. He shouldn't be with either one of them.
What the fuck did you just assault my ears with?
I know, but hear me the fuck out before you start reaching for your bricks. I feel after all these years, Betty and Veronica should just be a couple, and as far as who Archie should be with, it's a tie between Cheryl Blossom and Valerie Smith for me personally. Valerie, I was blown away with by their chemistry when they were dating briefly in the comic books. That just jumped off the fucking page. And the reasoning for Cheryl is that I love how Archie brings out Cheryl's kinder side, showing that in spite of her extremely vain, snobbish, and in some cases, depending on which series you're reading, borderline sociopathic fucking behavior, Cheryl has a genuine soft spot for Archie and does have feelings for him even when she's being an asshole about it. Next character is Forsyth Pendleton Jones III, better known to his friends as Jughead, who made his debut as well in Pep Comics 22 in 1941. Now, Jughead is very thoughtful and witty and probably one of the chillest fucking people in the town of Riverdale. His trademark pose being laying down, relaxing with one leg crossed over the other and eyes closed as if he's sleeping. His number one best friend in the world is without a doubt Archie, obviously, who he would go to great lengths to have his back and always try to steer him away from bullshit and to let him know when he fucked up something. He also has a very close relationship with Betty, often acting as her confidant, and in the early 50s comic books assisting her with scoring dates with Archie. Jughead's friendship with Reggie and Veronica is fucking volatile, and often features Jughead ruining Reggie's schemes and pranks, and always having a witty retort to Veronica, or just driving her up the fucking wall in general. Although, in Veronica's case, I always viewed that as they truly do care for one another, and their banter back and forth with each other is just something but they both secretly enjoy. When it comes to romance, Jughead in the early days was often described as a woman hater, but that slowly evolved to being more open-minded to relationships. Although poor Ethel, in my opinion, never really had a shot with Jughead, not because anything is wrong with her, far from it, but I just think Jughead could only see them as good friends. Or at least that's how I view the character's relationship. Now, in the comic books, Jughead is shown to be and described as asexual, which, while I think is a breath of fresh air to portray an orientation that damn near never gets depicted in any media, at least not in media I've seen, to be honest, I personally prefer the approach where Jughead is mostly against romance, with exceptions being made on the rare occasion. That, and I personally believe deep down, he may actually legit harbor romantic feelings for Archie, at least in some continuities or other miniseries aside from the mainline comic book. He has been linked with at least multiple people, and I know he had a teased romance with, let me think at the top of my head. I know they teased it with Ethel. They teased it with the character Trula Twist in the 90s. I remember her. She liked to fuck with him. I think she was like a psychologist in the making or some shit like that, from what I can recall. She was constantly fucking with Jughead back in the day. He was also linked with Betty in the live-action show Riverdale. He was linked with Midge, which is one of my favorite surprise pairings. And I vaguely recall in the limited series Jughead's Time Police, he was romantically teased with January McAndrews, who was Archie's distant female descendant from the future, who looks a lot like Archie. Make of that what you will. Wendy Weatherby he was connected with, I think. And Sabrina. The man knows how to pick them, especially that last one. And I think there was a few others, but those were just the major names I could recall at the top of my head. Last thing I wanted to say about Jughead is I find it very interesting and cool that technically in the mainline continuity of the Archie comic books, Jughead is the only one that unambiguously knows Sabrina is a witch. I'm going to touch on that whole thing when I get to her. Next up is Reginald Reggie Mantle, who made his debut in Jackpot Comics number 5 in 1942. Now, Reggie is the asshole prankster of the group who's often a selfish, immature, hot-headed, egotistical narcissist who often competes with Archie in all manners of shit, whether it be sports, music, bets, or girls. They constantly try to one-up each other, especially when it comes to Veronica. And when Reggie isn't trying to get with Ronnie, he turns his swinging dick towards Midge, which causes Moose to fly off the fucking handle in his jealous rages and beat the ever-loving dog shit out of Reggie. Although, in Reggie's defense, Midge definitely does show some interest in him, whether she admits it or not directly. To sum up Reggie in the simplest way would basically sound like this, okay? If you have a group of friends, there's always that one guy who's more of an asshole than anyone else in the group who starts the most shit, but in spite of that, he's still your bro anyway. You don't know why, you just go with it. Well, that's pretty much Reggie in a fucking nutshell right there. He's the dude bro type of guy. We all know at least one.
Oh, damn! We almost got you, bro. I've known you forever, bro, and I would never disrespect you with a lie. I will tell you very much that you look fucking disgusting, bro.
Last thing I want to say about Reggie is that his incarnation in Afterlife with Archie needs to get fucking killed off because that version of him is a fucking bastard. And it's hinted he's gonna embrace being a piece of shit person with the last chapter they left the storyline at, and if only they ever continue the fucking thing. Archie Comics, if you are listening to this, and if anyone in charge possesses a single fucking brain cell, finish the goddamn series, as well as Jughead, The Hunger, and Vampironica. Those are some of the best titles you've ever done, and the fact that they all left off on cliffhangers and haven't had updates in years makes me want to start crashing the fuck out.
What's the matter, big guy? Did you just break your keyboard?
Next up is Dilton Doily, who debuted in Pep Comics number 78 in 1950. Dilton is that old school 1950s nerd stereotype whiz kid who is instrumental when it comes to a vast majority of the wacky adventures the Riverdale gang get into, especially of the spin-off non-mainline titles, where his adventures are straight up super science. Dilton is really kind, he's patient, and he's very knowledgeable in all fucking things scientific, and in the spin-off stuff, pop culture awareness when it comes to films and horror movies, tropes like in Afterlife with Archie and Vampironica. His best bud is Moose, and he's often the only one beside Midge who can get Moose to settle the fuck down when he's raging. When it comes to romance, Dilton has been paired up with multiple ladies throughout the years, but my particular favorite pairing is him and Cheryl Blossom. Something about the sweet geeky guy and the redheaded bombshell who's kind of an asshole but with a hidden heart of gold just has this wholesomeness to it I can't quite put my finger on. I even like this pairing more than Archie and Cheryl. Last thing I want to mention about Dilton is how crucial his character has become when it comes to the Archie multiverse crossover stuff, when it comes to huge storylines that involve multiple Archie universes colliding, and he's often the key character bringing shit together. Him and Sabrina, who's also aware of the multiverse, holy shit. A team-up of Dilton with his super science and Sabrina's magic would be fucking awesome. Archie Comics, get on that right the fuck now. Someone call Dan Parent.
I'm your daddy.
Next is Marmaduke Mason, better known as Big Moose, who debuted in Archie's pal Jughead #1 in 1949. Moose is a fucking unit of a guy and the star athlete of Riverdale. He's typically a gentle giant most of the time, with one big-ass exception. When other guys talk to Midge and he thinks they're flirting with her. Moose, in spite of his positive qualities such as hating bullies, being polite, and he's willing to help others in need, and his friendship with Dilton being extremely heartwarming, he has a huge anger and possessive problem when it comes to Midge. Holy shit. He often beats the absolute piss out of Reggie whenever Reggie makes a move on her, although to be fair, sometimes Reggie does need a good slap in the back of his stupid fucking head on occasion. And Moose has even beat up Archie and Jughead due to their perceived coming on to Midge, even though he genuinely likes them. This has gotten to the point where in the spin-off titles Married Life and Life with Archie, which has the Riverdale gang age up to their 20s and later 30s, Midge, along with multiple people, call out Moose's violent and unintentionally abusive behavior towards his partner Midge, which even he saw and acknowledged, and it brought great character development for Moose as a person, with him learning how to control his crazy-ass temper and be a more trusting romantic partner. Last thing I want to say about Moose is, although he's often portrayed as being not the sharpest tool in the shed, he has shown enough self-awareness to genuinely want to improve himself in that department as well, and in later years, I think it was confirmed he had a learning disability, dyslexia if I'm not mistaken, and Moose has gone on to always strive for improvement and genuinely give his best when it comes to his academics, which I gotta say is pretty inspiring, especially to someone like me who has the IQ of a fucking rock, and let's be honest, there's a few bricks missing from my building if you know what I mean. Next is Chuck Clayton, who made his debut in Life with Archie #110 in 1971. Chuck is such a nice guy and is the artist of the Archie gang, particularly drawing his comic books. He's probably the second chillest guy of the Archie gang right behind Jughead, and he just goes with the flow, but will still call bullshit when he sees it, which I respect. What makes Chuck stand out in the romance department compared to every other male in the Riverdale gang is he is a one-woman man who's completely dedicated to his girlfriend Nancy, and what I mean is that he only seems to have eyes for her and doesn't date around, which, while sweet, I truly believe if he wanted to, he could probably score with every lady in Riverdale since he's genuinely a good, charming dude. Hell, he could probably give Archie a run for his money in that department if he wanted to and try. Which pisses me off on his portrayal in the first episode in the live-action show Riverdale, where they made Chuck a fucking douchey asshole prick, which is so far from his character in the source material. Now, I know they changed a lot of characters' personality and traits for the show, and some changes were very interesting and good for a lot of characters. This change to Chuck pissed me right the fuck off. In his last major appearance where they had somewhat tried to right the ship and make him kind of closer to his comics personality, they do fuck all with Chuck and they just abandoned his character, which leads to my final thing I want to say about the character. Archie Comics as a whole needs to do more with him since he's so interesting, but doesn't get nearly as much as he should when it comes to storylines. Kevin Keller has gotten more in his relatively short time in the comic books compared to Chuck, which, don't get me wrong, I love Kevin. He's the fucking man. But holy hell, Kevin, in his less than 2 decades, has gotten more love than Chuck, who's been around for 50 plus fucking years at this point. Chuck should at the very least have had a mini solo title. Archie Comics, please stop leaving Chuck out in the cold like he's a fucking lawn gnome and open your eyes to the great character he is, or at least could be if you give him a damn chance to headline a title, for fuck's sakes. Once again, somebody call up Dan Daddy Parent on the fucking phone here. Next up is Kevin Keller, who made his grand debut in Veronica 202 in 2010. Kevin is kind of a classic hunky type where he's very pleasant to be around. He ups the vibe of every room he enters with his energy, but will absolutely kick some ass if you try some shit with him. He always gave off old school Hollywood leading man type vibes to me personally. Even though he hasn't been in the Archie universe nearly as long as the others, he fit in so perfectly like Cheryl, it feels like he was always there from the beginning, which he has in common with her. It's like they were always meant to be in the comic book since the 40s and 50s. That's how good both Kevin and Cheryl are as characters. I love how in the spin-off titles, particularly Afterlife with Archie, he's a real badass fighter who takes no shit, especially when he clocks Reggie for being a homophobic asshole. Oh, fuck me. Seriously, that version of Reggie is just a scumbag piece of shit. I'm gonna let the legendary Jim Cornette sum up my feelings on that version of Reggie in particular.
Oh, god damn you. I hate you, motherfucker. I wish you'd just fucking drop over and burst into fucking flames. God damn you. Just fuck you. Go away and die and leave us and fans to our fucking enjoyment. You fucking motherfucker.
Archie Comics gets a lot of respect from me for introducing an openly gay character in the comic books who's a full three-dimensional person, and they didn't do any of that stereotypical bullshit that's so eye-rolling at best and offensive at worst, and makes me want to say, come on, really? The last thing I want to say about Kevin is, let me tell you something about this guy right here. If it wasn't for the fact that he was gay, he would be Team Steal Your Girl, because holy shit, guys. If Archie, the lovable average Joe, is pulling every woman in Riverdale, then Kevin would outdo him without even trying. Hell, even with the women knowing he's gay, if he showed an actual romantic interest in one of them for even a moment, ain't no way they're not jumping at the chance to get with him. He's like the blonde Rock Hudson of Riverdale. I mean, I think this voice clip right here sums up everyone's feelings for Kevin.
God damn. They did not need to make him that daddy, but they did. Understatement of the century. He's a full 5-star meal. Has high-key big dick energy, and he dummy thick AF.
Next character is Jason Blossom, who made his debut in Jughead number 325 in 1982. Now, in terms of personality, Jason is this cocky, uppity fuck who's proud to lord over his money and status over people even more so than Cheryl, and he's a fucking sore loser when it comes to competition, although he does have a few sympathetic qualities such as his genuine affection for Betty, and admittingly some respect for Archie for being a good guy, and of course his most well-known trait being his love for Cheryl and being a twin, which kinda leads to the elephant in the room here.
We need to acknowledge the elephant in the room.
he seems to be almost too obsessed with Cheryl in certain aspects, especially when it comes to certain spin-off material that's not the mainline comics, like Afterlife with Archie and the live-action Riverdale show. They straight up say there's an incest thing going on with them in the case of Afterlife with Archie. Jason is a fucking monster who is strongly implied to be sexually abusing Cheryl. Jesus Christ, now I'm glad you got killed off. Oh, fuck, spoiler alerts, by the way. Also, the way they did it made it very ambiguous whether or not the zombies killed Jason or Cheryl killed him herself. Either way, when it comes to that version of Jason, rest in piss, motherfucker. That's all I gotta say about that version. You know, I personally have a theory that it's not that Jason necessarily wants to fuck Cheryl per se. It's that, similar to Reggie, it's his ego is so inflated that he's in love with himself and he just wants to really fuck himself, and the closest thing he can get with that is fucking Cheryl, his twin. Right now, I'm picturing the scene in American Psycho when Christian Bale is fucking that one woman while looking in the mirror and flexing his muscles. That guy just loves himself that much. Last of the guys is Harvey Kinkle, who debuted in Archie's TV Laugh Out #1 in 1969. Now, I know there's a few others, but I never really gave a fuck about them as much as the ones named, like Alex from Josie's Squad, Bingo. Oh, well, I do kind of like Bingo. Well, and there's a couple others I'll save for a mini Archie episode follow-up to this someday. Hell, I barely gave a fuck about Harvey, and I'm naming him as part of the main crew mostly because of who he's paired with. Now, let me be clear. I don't hate Harvey as a character. I think he's okay. I just don't find him very interesting compared to multiple others. And he's like a poor man's Archie to me. He's like Diet Archie. Not as nice or likable or charismatic. He's clumsy like Archie and often puts his foot in his mouth. But aside from that, he's okay. How this guy managed to pull the best female character in Archie, bar fucking none, and if anybody disagrees with me, kindly and respectfully refer to this clip.
You got a fucking problem, bro? Because I'm about to break their fucking legs!
The Queen Sabrina is beyond me. I can understand literally any other male character managing to charm Sabrina, but Harvey is just so fucking white bread boring, at least in the mainline comics. I don't know how he got with Sabrina, I'm sorry. Man, I bet big Harvey fans are getting their bricks ready and aiming right for my stupid fucking head right now. But come on, search your souls. You know it's true deep down. Fucking Reggie would be a more interesting love interest than Harvey. Hey, actually, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I bet a lot of comedy could be mined from that couple for a bit. Quick, someone call up the other queen herself, Holly G, on the phone and run that idea to her. Now on to the ladies, starting off with Betty Cooper, who made her debut in Pep Comics #22 in 1941. Betty is the girl next door type to the max. She's very sweet, she's caring and considerate of others, but don't let that fool you, because she will crack a motherfucker in the face if she feels disrespected. She has an older brother named Chick and an older sister named Polly, who I'll touch on that in an eventual mini-sequel episode covering the side characters. Betty is so diverse when it comes to hobbies and skills. She's into sports like softball and basketball, and she's very athletic. She can dance, play multiple musical instruments. She can cook. She has mechanic skills, always fixing up Archie's piece of shit jalopy or whatever fucking model he drives nowadays. Which, side note, when Betty helps Archie with a favor, and he always reveals he needs said favor to go on a date with Veronica, usually that same night, always makes me want to slap Archie in the back of his fucking head, since that is kind of jacked up. On the other hand, I could never hate Archie since he's rarely intentionally being an asshole, just ignorant. When it comes to the love triangle of Archie, Betty, and Veronica, in the earlier stories, it was very clear Archie primarily wanted Veronica, and Betty was somewhat obsessive when it came to Archie to the point where I kind of felt sorry for her. One of the best shifts in character for Betty was widely expanding her character and interest beyond being with Archie, and she's even showed interest in other people like Jason Blossom, Jughead in a few continuities, Reggie on some casual dates, and even Veronica, which I'm going to touch on in a bit. But first, I want to mention one of my favorite things about Betty is that even aside from the mainline universe or continuity, She is very often portrayed as being a badass, especially in the action and horror titles. My favorite being Betty's incarnations in both Jughead the Hunger, where she comes from a family of werewolf hunters, and in Archie's Weird Mysteries, where she's an alien hunter. Betty being a sexy, badass action hero fits her character like a glove, all the while still having her good heart, which she really earned the love of fans for so many years. Now, for the final things I want to say about Betty before moving on is the whole love triangle thing and my own feelings about it. I know when discussing Archie, I said I preferred Betty being a couple with Ronnie, and I also said when I was younger in regards of who Archie should be with, I was Team Betty. Now, the reasons are pretty simple since I was putting myself in Archie's shoes. I fucking wish with the amount of action this guy gets. He's pretty much drowning in pussy to the point even he doesn't know what to do with it. Anyway, back to the Betty. The reason why I preferred Archie being with her over Veronica is I always had a type which is blonde, sweet, and down to earth. And a great rack.
Nice melons.
Although I genuinely do love Veronica as a character, I couldn't see myself being with her in a long-term romantic relationship. It would be a short fling at best, and a solid friendship would be much more appropriate of a relationship. Betty has all the personality traits I find so endearing. She's sweet, considerate, respectful, and loyal.
And her hooters ain't bad either.
Next is Veronica Lodge, who made her debut in Pep Comics number 26. Now, where Betty is the girl next door, Veronica is the uptown girl. Veronica is the daughter of Hiram Lodge, a billionaire business tycoon, which makes Veronica the richest girl in town and pretty much the princess of Riverdale. Veronica is very cultured and loves the finer things in life and often finances the Archie gang's traveling vacations, band gigs, and wherever random fucking whims the plot requires. Veronica hates being one-upped, she hates slobs, and not being able to buy her way out of shit. She also has a fantastic fashion sense, with the only other person matching her being Cheryl, and the only one surpassing them is Katie Keene, but that's literally her whole damn character if I'm not mistaken, being a fashionista or whatever the fuck you call it. Despite Veronica having a bit of a rough edge at times, and kind of being a bit of a snob, her romantic relationship with Archie is genuinely sincere, and her friendship with Betty, despite at times being romantic rivals for Archie, honestly is extremely heartwarming. Son of a bitch, just make them a goddamn couple in the main continuity already, Archie comic books. Or at the very least do another married life alternate timeline miniseries with Betty and Veronica being married. I'd personally love to see that, because if I'm going to turn into a fucking corpse before Archie makes a decision between Betty and Veronica. In terms of skills, Veronica is no slouch either, being very intelligent, business savvy at times, and she's pretty damn athletic too when she tries. Hell, like Betty, she's got some musical talent herself being in the Archie's band. And similar to Betty, she could beat the bricks out of any dumb son of a bitch who tests her, particularly in many miniseries in the Archie-verse. Two examples being Explorers of the Unknown, where she's a martial arts expert, if I recall that correctly, and Vampironica, where she's a vampire who hunts other evil vampires. The last things I want to say about Ronnie is, although she's been on dates with multiple guys throughout the decades, it's extremely clear to me her heart belongs to Archie. Hell, I'd argue that when it comes to romance and true love, Veronica is more loyal to Archie than Archie is to her. For example, that crack I made about Archie earlier about him fucking every woman in the town of Riverdale, well, I get the vibe from Veronica she's only ever been with Archie. Meanwhile, Archie is probably one of the biggest fucking man whores in fiction. No offense, but that's just all the more reason, in my opinion, Veronica should just be with Betty. Veronica has probably given Archie the best sloppy toppy of his life, and what does fucking Carrot Top do? He bends over Cheryl Blossom the very next day at her mansion, while unknown to both of them, Jason's watching in the shadows jealous. And the day after that, BAM! He's going to town on Betty in the back of his nasty-ass jalopy that Betty probably fixed. And after dropping Betty off at home, he heads to Valerie's place. Do I even need to say why? I'm sure you could paint the picture. So yeah, in conclusion, Veronica should just leave Archie already and be with her true love Betty. Besides, Archie would probably be the most supportive of their relationship anyway. He's just that good of a guy at his core. And beside the whole man-whore tendencies and jokes I throw his way, I really believe he is the heart and soul of Riverdale. Next is Cheryl Blossom, who made her debut in Betty and Veronica number 320 in 1982. Cheryl is very similar to Veronica in some ways, coming from a wealthy family, being snobbish and flaunting her wealth. But the difference between being Cheryl and Veronica is Cheryl has no shame in doing those things whatsoever. And she's a lot more openly kind of an asshole and an elitist, looking down on people who aren't as wealthy as her and her family, and throwing cash around like a monkey flinging its shit in someone's face.
What's that they're flinging at us?
Oh, dear Lord! All over the dean!
Despite her flaws, however, she does actually have a softer, more kind side to her, which I personally love when they show it. Especially when she interacts with Archie, who she genuinely seems to really like and care for. Now, Cheryl is often considered in-universe to be the sexiest female in the Archieverse, which honestly isn't inaccurate. Although everyone listening knows who's the real queen of Archieverse.
Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah.
Whoa, not yet, Adam. Fucking relax. You're almost to her home stretch. Take it down a fucking notch. Anyway, back to Cheryl. Even in her earliest appearances, the comics were pushing that idea of her being the most attractive female character. I mean, hell, if I recall correctly, the second she met Archie, she was immediately on his nuts and didn't care the fuck all at who knew. Another very early story I remember was her trying to go topless on the Riverdale beach before Betty fucking ruined it for everyone. God damn it, Betty, what the fuck? I can't be mad at Betty. She is a blonde after all. One of God's greatest creations. Blonde women. Right up there with deep dish pizza. Anyway, Cheryl was literally removed from Archie Comics for some years for being too sexy, before coming back in 1994 in the famous Love Showdown storyline, much to everyone's delight, where she strutted back into Riverdale like she was a fucking pro wrestler making her grand return after her apparent retirement, and the whole crowd was just popping the fuck off. Next character is Ethel Muggs, who made her debut in Archie's pal Jughead number 82 in 1962. She was called Big Ethel in the early days, but they stopped doing that around the 80s when they realized that's probably kind of fucked up. Now, Ethel is such a sweet and interesting Archie character who, honestly, I'm really happy for when she gets time to shine. I felt bad for her in the very early stories where it almost seems like she was a punchline because she was just this larger and, well, how do I say this nicely? Plain Jane kind of awkward young woman who I felt kind of got shit on because others couldn't see her inner beauty at the time. Wow. I just realized it's fucking funny, even when I'm in character as the movie guy, I can't help but show my true self a bit, but be nice on certain things. Which is funny, considering when I'm in character, I'm vulgar, crude, perverted, and, well, I'm just insane. But on the other things, my mask slips off, and my actual kind, mild-mannered SpongeBob SquarePants self pops out.
Hi, I'm SpongeBob.
I am so hot and cold on switching back and forth between my podcast persona and my true self on shows. Even I don't know when I'll break character and be sincere. But let me put the mask back on and get back into character. That's better. God knows nobody wants to see my fucking face.
Good Lord, you're ugly.
You will die alone. Ideally. For others' sake.
That'll do.
Back to Ethel. She is heavily tied with Jughead, with her really pining after him. However, Archie Comics has really toned down her infatuation with him over the years, and she's actually dated around, with one of my favorite stories being her going on a date with Archie. And they had shockingly good chemistry, and she looked absolutely beautiful, to the point I was saying out loud, God damn, Betty, Veronica, Cheryl, and Valerie need to be put on notice, because my girl Ethel out here sweeping Archie off his feet and joining Team Steal Your Man.
Ooh, you go, girl!
Oh, I do go.
Last thing I want to say about Ethel is I hope she gets more prominence in future spin-off titles, and I want to see her pair up with somebody like Reggie. You know what I just noticed saying that is I really love pairing up the asshole character with significantly nicer characters. I just love that contrast and the potential comedic back and forth banter between those two character types. Next character I want to talk about is Nancy Woods, who made her debut in Pep Comics 309 in 1976, the glorious bicentennial year. R.I.P. Apollo Creed. Rocky IV still goes hard to this day. I swear, my favorite line in the entire movie is from Drago's manager. Whatever he hits, he destroys.
Whatever he hits, he destroys.
Fucking brilliant. Enough of that tangent though, back to Nancy. Now, Nancy as a character always seemed to have a good head on her shoulders, and she's extremely loyal to Chuck in the mainline series, with them exclusively dating just each other, and she just gets frustrated with Chuck being glued to his cartooning art and passion when she just wants to be with him. It's like that old video game ad with fucking Sega or Nintendo, one of those fucking guys, where the dude in the ad is deep into his video games and his sexy wife just wants to plow him, but he's like, nah, I'm good with my game. While I do like them as a couple, I would like to see her paired up with characters just to see how they would interact. They do something very interesting with her character in Afterlife with Archie and have her in a secret relationship with Ginger Lopez, which I think is really cool and new. However, I got a bone to pick with that version of the character. Now, on one hand, I do sympathize with Nancy being afraid to come out and be with Ginger publicly. What I don't sympathize with is she's kind of fucking shitty towards Chuck. I mean, I don't even think she has real feelings for him at all, and he's just a beard for her, even though he clearly does care for her. One moment I recall in the comic when the Archie gang were taking a vote on whether or not to kick Cheryl out of the group after she killed, well, ambiguously killed Jason. It's kind of hard to tell. Anyway, they have a vote to kick Cheryl out of the group, and they get to Chuck on his vote, and Nancy just cuts him off mid-sentence and says, oh, he feels the same way she does. That shit had me raising my eyebrows, and if I was in charge of that group, I would have said, and again, I do genuinely sympathize with her to a point in her point of view, which does, to its credit, get touched on. That doesn't change the fact that she's an asshole when it comes to Chuck. Sorry to Afterlife Nancy fans, but the fucking truth hurts. But fuck all the relationship talk, because on her own in the mainline comics, she gets fuck all to do, which I feel is a repeating problem with a few other female characters I'm about to mention up next. So I wish Archie Comics would just give her own limited titled series like they did with Cheryl years ago and just flesh out her character more, since she has a lot of potential to shine like Ethel does, but Archie Comics needs to at least give her a chance, for fuck's sakes. Next characters I'm mentioning are going to be a 3-in-1, and those characters are Josie McCoy, Valerie Brown, and Melody Valentine, the Pussycats. I'm going to save Pepper and Alexandra for the sequel episode I'm going to make someday, which will cover all the other characters I haven't touched on, because there's a fuck ton, and I'm only doing the heaviest hitters that people actually give a shit about for the most part, let's be honest.
Goddamn, that's harsh, okay?
Besides, this episode ran way longer than expected that I decided to split it into 2 parts, since talking about the live-action shows and my top 5 favorite limited series and Archie's weird mystery cartoon would bloat the hell out of an already stuffed episode. That, and I'm certain at this point, if I drag this episode on that much longer, everyone listening will want to break their fucking devices they're listening to this on, since my voice and verbal tics is probably going to give them a stroke. Josie McCoy made her debut in She's Josie #1 in 1963, as well did Melody Valentine, although her OG last name I think was Jones or some shit, if I'm not mistaken, until the 2001 movie, I think it was, officially made it Valentine, which, honestly, that's a much better last name, so good for them. Valerie Brown debuted in Josie in the Pussycats #45 in 1969. Now, Josie is the level-headed, kinda mild-mannered, sweet one. Melody is the ditzy and bubbly one. And Valerie is the very passionate, smart tomboy of the group. Josie reminds me a bit of Archie, not quite as a female counterpart per se, but close, with her own kind of every girl vibe. Melody always gets a chuckle out of me with her ditziness, and my personal favorite trademark of hers is that cute sing-song voice they did, and they add a little musical notes to her speech bubbles. I always found that very endearing, and the fact that she seems oblivious at times to the effect she has on guys, causing them to get into fucking accidents after catching a look at her. Can't say I blame them. Between the blonde hair, the great looks, the big rack, and her very sweet personality, she's pretty much the definition of a bombshell blonde. Now, on to my favorite of the group, Valerie. She just has personality coming out of her pores, and she's a very well-rounded character. And while I love her independent nature, I was blown the fuck away by the chemistry she had with Archie, to the point I said, Betty and Veronica, throw in the fucking towel, because my girl Valerie out here got this in the bag. I'm sorry. You both had an excellent run. It's Valerie's yard now. If it wasn't for the fact that Valerie is committed to the Pussycats band and her other interests and all the traveling they do, I'd bet my left nut that Archie would be with Valerie over Betty, Veronica, or even Cheryl. And honestly, I think Valerie and Archie would be the best pair together, with a close second being possibly Cheryl. Once again, I think Betty and Veronica should just be with each other for fuck's sakes. I really want that to be explored in another limited time married life storyline. Dan the Man Parent, please get on that. One last thing I want to say about the Pussycats is I really dig the Scooby Gang vibe of their comic book. They very famously met each other in my favorite Scooby-Doo series, the new Scooby movies.
Hey, Scooby! Scooby, Scooby-Doo, looking for you. Scooby, Scooby-Doo, where are you? All the stars are here, waiting for you. Couldn't have a show without you.
Fucking glorious. And now, ladies, gentlemen, and that beautiful rainbow in between, and Archie fans from around the world, or, you know, the 7 fans actually listening to this fucking episode. I couldn't resist. And to all the witches out there,
Sup, witches?
I give to you all my final character entry of this episode, the queen of the Archieverse, Sabrina Spellman. That's right, I saved my favorite and best for last, Sabrina. Now, Sabrina made her debut in Archie's Madhouse number 22 in 1962 and was created by Dan the Man DiCarlo and George Gladier. God, I hope I'm pronouncing these fucking names right. I cannot pronounce names to save my life. Sorry if I butchered your name, by the way. Now, Sabrina has probably the most changes, or has had the most changes done to her side of the Archieverse compared to everybody else. For example, when she debuted, they laid out rules like witches can't cry, they're not allowed to fall in love, and they float above water. The love rule begs the question on, how the fuck do they procreate then? I also remember vaguely that one of her earliest origins behind her creation was she was an artificial being created with a magic potion that went wrong by her aunts Zelda and Hilda, both witches themselves, or some shit like that. It kind of gives me early Wonder Woman vibes back when her origin was she was made by clay then turned into a real person through magic. Although this was later retconned into the origin everybody knows, with Sabrina being a half-witch, her father being a warlock, and her mother was a mortal woman. This is big thanks to the live-action 1996 sitcom that Melissa Joan Hart starred as Sabrina, and this show was extremely instrumental on how Sabrina is portrayed today in the comic books and pretty much cemented a lot of things about the character. Like her last name, Spellman, came from this show, since I don't recall in the 1970s comic run if they ever said her last name. I really don't remember that. That series also did the best thing ever with Salem's Sabrina's cat, who casual fans might not remember that Salem didn't talk in the OG run until years later, since the show did that, giving him the origin of a warlock who tried to take over the world and as punishment was turned into a cat, and he had to live with the Spellmans. That is one of the best things they ever done, not only for the Sabrina side of the Archieverse, but for the character Salem. Just smartass Salem is the best Salem. He's fucking hilarious. Matter of fact, for the 70s run, he was an orange cat instead of a black tuxedo cat, which was later permanently cemented thanks to the 1996 show. And in my opinion, the best writer of Sabrina is the very bewitching Holly G, who took all the great things about Sabrina's lore, personality from each previous run, as well as the 96 show, blended all the good stuff together, combined it with her own take and voice, and what we got was, in my opinion, the definitive edition of the character. Don't forget, Holly didn't just write Sabrina, she drew her as well, perfectly if I may say so. While I'll always love the bob hairstyle since that is Sabrina's trademark hairdo, I actually prefer the longer straight neo 70s 90s mixture she had going on with a good amount of times. Sabrina, in terms of her personality, is very sweet, she's caring, always wants to help people, and unless you piss her the fuck off, she always has the best of intentions. And a lot of comedy comes from Sabrina using her magic to help people, but things very often go sideways in classic slapstick fashion. But also, in a lot of the more mature works, like the Archie horror prints, things take a really dark, fucked up turn. Like how in Afterlife with Archie, she starts the zombie apocalypse trying to resurrect Hot Dog for Jughead, since Jughead is her homie. Which reminds me of something I want to acknowledge about their relationship. Specifically in the mainline comics and some of the spin-off stuff, Jughead is the only one she has told she is a witch, and it actually stuck as far as I'm concerned, meaning it wasn't retconned or Sabrina didn't, cast a spell to make him forget or some shit. So I always found that interesting, which leads to another thing. I want to see a storyline done in the mainline comics where Sabrina actually comes out as a witch to the Archie gang. Maybe not all of them, but a good chunk. Maybe just all the female characters during a get-together, and there's a big crisis that Sabrina and her aunts can't handle alone, so they need Sabrina's Riverdale girlfriends to help out. I don't know, something along those lines. Holly G or Dan Parent, if you hear this, consider that storyline, please. Also, damn, that reminds me, I never mentioned how Sabrina lives in Greendale, the next town over next to Riverdale, although I do recall for a time Sabrina did live in Riverdale, and nowadays she just visits the town a lot. Then there's the Gravestone High series, where it's a town in the other world where Sabrina's aunties grew up, and it's essentially an all types of monsters town, which is it's like the movie Halloween Town, essentially. I wouldn't mind Sabrina returning there for another storyline someday, since that was a lot of fun. Now, every single version of Sabrina I've personally got into was her 1970s run, the 96 early 2000s run, which includes the Queen Holly G's run, who, side note, is an actual witch in real life. Tell me that's not fucking perfect for someone who writes Sabrina. Come on. It's like she was always meant to write and draw for the character, and it also makes her cool as fuck.
Ooh, you go, girl!
Oh, I do go.
I also read a little bit of the current run, the Chilling Adventures run, both the comic and the live-action adaptation, which, side note to that, Kiernan Shipka is literally perfection as Sabrina. She's an incredible actress, she truly understands, gets the character, and she's absolutely beautiful.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you.
I cannot fucking wait to get into the live action shows for a future sequel episode to this one. It's gonna be hilarious. But no matter what changes, there's always consistency for the most part on Sabrina herself as a character, which she's always very likable and she has a great heart. I absolutely love the character. And to close out this episode with my final spiel, random tangent, whatever the fuck you want to call it, about Sabrina is why I love her and witches in fiction in general. Let's rewind the clock back to ancient times when I was 7 years old. I was watching TV late one night and I came across something truly magical. A little show called Bewitched, starring Elizabeth Montgomery as Samantha, a recently married witch with a mortal husband. And let me tell you, when I first laid eyes on Samantha, wow, she was one of the most stunning women I have ever seen in my entire life.
I've never seen something so goddamn beautiful in my entire fucking life.
And very interestingly enough, I actually first saw Bewitched very shortly before I got into Archie comics and first read Sabrina. And I always thought of Sabrina as being an almost late teens, early 20s version of Samantha in a few ways. You know, both are witches and proud, but want the air finger quote normal mortal things in life too. Both are beautiful, they are very caring towards other people, and when they use their magic, chaos completely just takes over. It's also interesting on how Sabrina predates Bewitched by about 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Funny how that fell into place. You know, I bet everyone listening right now is fully expecting me to go guns blazing into movie guy mode and say, outrageous, vulgar things the way I was repeatedly teasing and hyping Sabrina up. But I thought it'd be sweeter and funnier if I swerved and was just completely sincere in stepping out of my character again and taking my mask off, speaking about her. Alright, I'm putting it back on, shit. This whole bit reminds me of that scene from Not Another Teen Movie. A parody of those 80s and early 90s high school comedies. And the scene what I'm thinking of is the trio of geeky guys are talking about the perfect girl, played by Lacey Shepard, or is it Shubbard? I cannot say fucking names right, oh my god. But anyway, her character enters the scene in slow motion every single time she appears. So one of the buddies says something crude. Meanwhile, the guy with a crush on her gives this fucking ridiculous, overly flowery speech about her.
I bet she great bonk. Excuse me, Bruce? No, you do not bonk Amanda Becker. You make sweet, sweet love to her. Amanda Becker is like a flower. You smell her. You touch her gently. You admire the beauty. You watch it blossom. And you thank God he created something so perfect. Go to her.
It makes me wonder how long he was waiting to bust out that speech. Although, lucky for him, he actually gets somewhere with her and gets to bust a nut.
What do you expect from me? Do you think I'm just gonna have sex with you?
No, you don't understand.
Because I am not some kind of cheap slut. I don't screw every pathetic guy that gives me a letter. I give them hand jobs.
Holy shit, I need to cover that film, Not Another Teen Movie. That movie fucks pretty hard and so does the soundtrack. But anyway, back to the subject at hand and enough of my tangents, Sabrina. My closing statement tying into what I was rambling about earlier. My love of witches in fiction are tied directly to both Samantha from Bewitched and Sabrina from Archie comics. Love them. I can't get enough of them when they show up in stories, whether they're good, evil, or something in between, it doesn't matter. Witches are fucking awesome, and I won't hear anything otherwise. It will not stand for witch slander or for Sabrina or Samantha slander.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Well, guys, this is the end of the episode, which, holy shit, this has gone on way longer than expected, or what I planned. And I didn't even cover all the material I wanted to, since I still have to talk the live-action shows, my favorite spin-off titles, Archie's weird mystery cartoon, all the characters I didn't get to, but I'm gonna have to save that for another sequel episode. I really hope you all enjoyed listening and got a laugh or two, even a tiny chuckle. I do this to entertain, God knows not educate. If I tried that, you all lose every brain cell you currently have and end up like a maniac like me. This has been Adam the Movie Guy, or comic book guy in this case, and I'll see you next episode.